By Top Esports, Jackulov going into the backline playing Assassin AD carry. And in the meantime, Knight just deals with the entire rest of V5.
And it was a bit unfortunate there for V5 where they had the right idea, try and get the wide berth of a bunch of different... Oh, PP God.
You don't survive this on PB God. That's a big scary snake. And you know what? Knight is going to be in a 1v3 here. But I'm thinking I might even favor Knight for this one. Stunned up. And there's the ulti as well. He doesn't quite have the damage to bring down the bear.
Oh
yes, he does.
God.
And he's got a lifesteal to boot as well.
Oh, no!
Burning down the quag. No way! Knight, you monster!
What is going on in this game? Knight has just managed to 1v3 all of V5. What was that?
That is unbelievable. That is the best mid laner in the world, my friend.
Oh, Knight makes it look so damn easy. Just finishes off the Magi Soul Stealer to add a little bit of insult to injury, but he doesn't need anything more. He has done his job in this game. Be that consistent damage. Where Jackulov needs to be the assassin, it's Knight who's damaging the front line. Knight who's working his way front to back. And when he's just worked his way through 3 different players on V5 who've come in at 3 different times, it is just feeding this snake more and more.
And you know what? They are taking this base apart. Top Esports took game 1 personally, and they are not going down without a fight. Sam D now caught up, knocked up. The Call of the Forge God going to look for the snipe, but actually 369, he's going to settle for a croc instead. Down goes Pew Pew. They only need 1 pick to end this game. Mole has to run for the hills right here as they focus on towards the Nexus Towers. Happy to tank the stun is 369, as the depth charge just keeps everybody at bay, but 369 on the front line once more. Knight has the damage. Ult across the whole team. Sam D forced onto the fountain. Mole gets out with his life, but it's another double for the snake. And Top Esports are just looking for bonus kills at this point, as they always do, because they're bringing us to game 3. And you know what, Dagda? I wouldn't have it any other way.
Neither would I, Munchables. Looking at that Magi Soul Stealer going from 10 stacks to 22 stacks in a matter of about 40 seconds was pretty damn impressive from Knight, as was this entire game from him.
And you know what? V5 came out strong once again. The early game from V5 still looking fantastic. The bottom lane 2v2 plays, PP God still setting that up. But this time around, we saw more life out of Top Esports in the first half of the game. We saw them matching the aggression. And then, once we get to the late game, we talked about Kai'Sa having 3 items. We saw Jackulov using and abusing that fact. But the Knight's Cassiopeia just blows my mind.
And it was the perfect pick in this scenario. Even though they went for his blind, it was exactly what was going to make V5's composition struggle. You have 2 bruisers in Renekton and in this Volibear who are the main engage tools because, well, you've already seen the Karma, so you know what you're going into here. Well, let's just instead have this ability to toss out a Miasma to slow them down, Petrifying Gaze to make it an absolute nuisance for them to get in, and even opting for that Rylai's Crystal Scepter as well. So even if you get through Gate 1, Gate 2, well, now you're just being slowed permanently by all these Twin Fangs. It never felt like V5 were given a chance.
And I mean, I wasn't sure about the Cassiopeia pick because it's not something we see that often, but I know now to never doubt Knight again, because we saw it in the 1v3. We saw the sheer power that he's going to bring to the table. He finds 1 pick, he's going to keep that ball rolling. And I mean, that is exactly what Top Esports did. Once they found themselves that advantage, they really did get rolling. They found themselves the Ocean Soul, and that fight, that was the moment at which V5 lost the game.
I think it was already done for, though. At that stage, it looked even, but the problem was you always had the scaling coming in from Top Esports that we talked about. So when you're going even back and forth throughout this game and not really finding that big moment that swings it in V5 favor, like we saw in game number 1, well, that's already a Top Esports win. So it just felt like that slow, inevitable trudge that Top Esports were going to get there.
But that is kind of what we know Top Esports for at this point, right? They draft these compositions that win in the later stages of the game. You know that their team fighting is going to be exceptional. You know the mechanical plays are going to be there. And you know that their map play is excellent. So if you allow them to get to that later stage, if you allow them that, and especially if you allow them to get dragons along the way, it's all going to fall apart pretty quickly. So as we head towards game number 3, V5 maybe need to look towards even more early aggression. But to be fair to them, they didn't let the gold lead go until very, very late into the game.
Yeah, the problem was that they just didn't have the tools to really get rolling maybe if they'd mixed up what Mo was going for in that mid lane, like we were talking about, trying to have something that can still influence these side lanes once again and do something in this mid lane, but unfortunately going towards the Silas meant you had a losing mid lane matchup. He had some moments to give him his due, but it just wasn't enough to try and kill Knight fast enough. And then when he got to those team fights, he couldn't find the right flanking moments to have access onto Knight or onto Jackie.
And I do just want to clarify one thing, because we're talking about this late game composition from Top Esports. Like, we didn't really see the late game. They finished the game at 26 minutes, and even though it was like a relatively I don't know. I don't even know how to describe this game, honestly, but it all blew open in the blink of an eye, and it was like, okay, we've hit our power spike, time to win the game.
Well, that was the thing. Knight finished this game 10-0. That was how strong this Cassiopeia was. So even if we're at the 25-minute mark, Knight had hit those items that made him a Cassiopeia late game nightmare. So I think that's what we were seeing anyway, was that Knight was just taking over in these team fights. And even though they shut down Jackie Love, it's still Knight who's able to come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this conversation recently about who's the best mid in the world, right? Knight and Rookie both up in that conversation. See you later, Rookie. Like, with your recent performance versus Knight's recent performance, right now, it is easily Knight. That Cassiopeia play was just unreal to witness. And, like, just for context as well, BU was massive. It's not like he's just bullying underfed players. That was a straight-up 1v3 and in even circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, look, to be fair, V5 did kind of run in a little bit separated, but still, Knight played that absolutely magnificently, able to dodge away from a bunch of abilities, was able to continuously move into these positions where he was able to just continue that healing up and outperform completely V5 in that situation.
Well, Doctor, we're going to go to a quick break, but do not go anywhere. Game 3 is coming up, and I'm sure it's going to be just as action-packed as the rest of this series. We're going to find out who the best team in the league is right after this.
我不知道你是干嘛的，我也不在乎。
命运掌握在我们手中。
先 Q 一下龙，看一下血量，而且很谨慎拉出来，是一定要拉龙。但火龙坑是一个破碎的一个，稍微挡一下这个 Q， 是不让盲僧有机会接近。摸了一下，想要过来抢，没有抢到的狼骑进场，直接拍到了2个人面前。
我的士兵们前进！
这个3万推到了后排3个人。进场推到了小阿森，这时候一脚来的已经有点慢了，只剩下西叶在跟他作战。回头小阿森 Q2 拿到这个人头以后，并是选择骁闪电抢杀小阿森，拿下人头，而且西叶是被自己给卡住，已经交过闪现了。这样的话打出一波团灭，
未来将由分身者撰写。
上路挂 TP 这波想留，但是第一时间巴德开隧道以后，感觉有点留不住了呀。2个人上来，嘲讽不错，但是巴德大招给的同样也不错。奥文大招换了上来，强手猎物直接拉过去以后，瞄准的是对面的野和 AD， 但是正面的话可以看到泰坦、色骑、巨魔都纷纷倒下。
战斗之心，至死方休。
打到了伤害。
皇子来了呀！这个皇子过来，不能上了，感觉要卖了。
对，波士堡死掉，
德玛西亚
又是跳出一个大招，一口抢起来，多个人，
发条，
花样大招，
终于赶到了战场。
皇子跟发条经典配合，
德玛西亚永世长存。
片甲不留。
LG 不想放，气泡睡到了，睡到是个大鳄鱼 ，poke 一套，这边 Q5 的血量有点残。
对拜我吧！
熊玄决定开大招，这将哥直接进场，必须现在要考虑撤退的事情了，有办法吗？
一声滚动，
再拿一个暗影燎原支援一下，乐言继续想要输出，但这个位置已经被2个人逼迫上来，巨魔卡一个柱子。梅否在后面残血量，疯狂的想要找机会再丢对面气泡。
我狂奔，我践踏。
乐言一直闪，但是都没有机会上来输出，最后终于找到一个机会进场，但自己随即也被圣枪哥给换掉。哇，这波是直接打出一波团灭。
感受来自蛮荒的力量吧。
won't set me back again. Oh, I'm not asleep or awake. Let the future escape. Take me back to you. Just shake the ground. Oh, this lightness, it will fill the air around. Oh, I'm not asleep or awake. Let the future escape.
He loves this Kai'Sa pick.
He certainly does. Yuyanja can grab the Nautilus as well, so Top Esports very much happy with the way things went in game number 2. And I can't say I'm that surprised, to be quite honest. The Ash pick, though, being waylaid this time around by Victory 5. And I'm curious how much else they're going to try and change in this draft, because definitely the Aphelios lends towards matching in the late game.
Surprised to see them lock in the Twist of Fate so early. I actually thought they were going to go towards a Leona to support the Aphelios in the bottom lane and maybe try and set up some of these big plays in the bottom side of the map. But they're like, look, Mole, we want you on this Rome champion. Again, it was such a good pick at catching out Jackie Love, catching out Yuyanja on this Nautilus pick in game number 1. Let's try and have that repeat magic that we found in game number 1.
So the same bans once again from V5 here, trying to make sure that Knight can't have comfort and can't have the hyper carry in the Kassadin. BuBu gets respect banned away with the Renekton that he has looked exceptional on across the course of this split. Now Top Esports have one ban remaining, and I'm curious where they're going to go with it.
I mean, I imagine they're still going to go topside. They envision that this... Oh, there it is, actually,
Leona.
So, yeah, I was wondering if we'd actually see Leona first locked in here in this next rotate, on this pick here for Red 4. Because honestly, Leona does super well against the Nautilus. You just end up super way tankier. It nullifies a lot of the engage the Top Esports could potentially have, while enabling your Aphelios a lot as well. But won't get their hands on it. Looks like instead they will go back towards El Clasico for the PP God in Game 3 versus Top Esports. He brings out the Bard.
What a pick for Game 3 as well. This is going to be a hype game and a lot of mid-game strength once again here for V5. A lot of pick potential being locked in. On the other side, Top Esports now, they're considering the Sylas for themselves.
So the thing here is if you do go towards, with the Sylas lock-in and with the Kai'Sa, a dive-orientated composition, it makes this Bard so much more difficult to try and work with, because your ability to pick people off and not actually just lock up your own teammates becomes suddenly a lot more difficult. So now it'll be on PP God to see if he can try and have these star performances and make sure that he's able to stop these engages before they actually happen.
369, the last member to pick for the side of Top Esports. I don't think it's going to be the Urgot that gets locked in the end.
We have seen it over in the LCK. Keen has played that 3 times and won 100% of his games. Wasn't sure if we get to see it there, but the Ornn is going to be locked in, and there is the question of, do you just go full scaling here for V5, get that Kayle on the top side? You've got Mole, and you can play off in another side lane as well, and you could end up working towards this super late game as V5. There we go, yeah.
V5 say, you know what, we're going to change things up. We're not going for the early aggression this time around. We're going to the complete opposite side of this scale. So V5 going pure scaling across the team, whereas this time Top Esports may be the ones that will have to push the pace of the game.
So when you look at, well, I'm going to actually go towards Top Esports first, because it makes it easier to look at how this dive is going to set up. You want to have Knight jumping in aggressively, Jackie Love as well. You have 369 in this Ornn to set up that dive potential alongside Yuyanja. But what V5 are looking to do here is to try and avoid a lot of that. You have this Kale who has the invulnerability that can also scale into the super late game. PP God as well on this Bard is looking to stop this all in and stop that coordinated dive that can come through from top esports. And then you can start to win out the fight with these Aphelioses, with all these, with the Kales and that kind of stuff. As well, Volibear gets very much enabled when you are going for these all-in dives. So we'll have to see how these stuns alongside Mole and this Volibear will be able to control top esports. It's very much Victory 5 trying to contain the aggression that top esports are going to be tossing towards them in these fights.
Certainly once we get a couple of items on these carries, but this time it's Knight on the Sylas, changing picks each and every single game of this series. And one very important interaction we have to point out is we always talk about this Twisted Fate being able to roam around and snowball in the mid game. Well, Sylas can steal his ult and do the exact same thing. So we have a lot of roam potential in that mid lane matchup. But I'm keeping my eyes towards that support role once again. We've got PP God against Yu Yanja the Prophet as we head into game number 3. Time to hit the rift once again, Dagda, as we've got a bit of a doozy ahead of us. Scaling on both sides of the board, hyper carries on both sides of the board, but if it goes the full way, I honestly don't know how to call this one.
It is very much down to execution on V5 side. Because, yes, look, they've got some great scaling. You talk about the Aphelios, you talk about the Kale, but it is very much a case of how do they try and keep their multiple different members alive as top esports are looking to dive and get aggressive on top of them. There is the opportunity if V5 want to just go, right, we're going full side lane. If they can find some sort of advantage that allows them to swing the tempo in their favor and they can just have Mole off on a side lane with BLG putting pressure on these towers against an Ornn, they can look great. But it's going to be very difficult with the composition that they have because they're looking towards those later stages where they're strong to actually find that tempo advantage to allow them go towards that. Speaking
of tempo, we are going to have lethal tempo here for Sam D once again, which apparently between these two AD carries is the preferred rune on Aphelios. Castle just going to be starting things off a bit more of a reserved way this time around. Just starts on his red and we'll be moving up towards the top side of the map. Wei going to start on his blue as well. So matching movements here from the two junglers.
And both these are single target junglers as well, so you're going to see pretty much the same route with buff, Gromp, buff is going to be the idea. And then trying to put some pressure. I'd imagine more so with Wei just trying to keep tracks on Karsa and make sure he's not trying to gank towards the likes of Mole or even BLG in that top lane.
And, I mean, let's go back to the conversation we had right at the very start of the day when we were talking about how these two junglers function. And the way that V5 have found a lot of their wins across the course of this split has been through tracking the enemy jungler. And that's certainly how they were finding their success in game number 1 as well. Wei honestly just having a whale of a time up against Karsa. He was the MVP for game number 1. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to do the exact same, and obviously since that Graves has been banned away, Wei's had a bit of a harder time, but he's going to look to start things off strong here as he moves towards this top lane. 369 desperate to reset this wave, but he's too late on this one. Searing charge to try and get himself out, flash across the wall. 369 survives.
He does, but it's a lot burnt, and look at where this lane is now positioned. BLG can at least have it, well, I was going to say slotting back in towards him if he really wanted to, and still can have that chance where he just freezes it here. And now you've got to try and push in super aggressive as 369. Always wary that Wei can be on Krugs or his Raptors and still come up top.
Luckily for 369, I think he did just about enough to be able to get that shoving back out. PP God gets found by a hook from Yu Yanja there. It's a really nice trade for top esports.
And why I was surprised, honestly, to see PP God go towards this Bard pick. It struggles super hard in the lane, especially against something as aggressive as a Nautilus and a Leo, or a Kai'Sa, but
surely not. Is it gifted over like this? PP God face checks into Karsa. Will get underneath this tower here, but he knows he's in trouble.
He can't even go for the health pack because he's right in front of Yuanji. A TP
oh
plays.
My goodness. Top esports putting down the accelerate pedal, but it's answered with a TP from Mole. And that's enough to deter the tower down.
I mean, honestly, that's a win as V5. You stop that play from happening, you've committed the TP from Knight, and yes, you get out of Mole. But for Mole, it's more about trying to find windows of opportunity where he is Destiny available. Knight doesn't have that counterplay. So if you're getting that teleport, it at least gives you some respite where maybe you can find a play with that Destiny.
God, I just love how tense this game is already. We see just like even the hint of a play towards the bottom side, TPs on both sides. Everybody knows that these teams are willing to pull the trigger on a dive like that and are willing to push the aggression.
And it's top esports that need to keep these plays rolling because they're the ones that will spike a little bit earlier, and they're the ones that want to have the likes of Knight getting rolling in this mid lane and try to influence these team fights in a massive way. So if they can find plays like that, it's going to be great for top esports, whereas for V5, being able to dissuade them is fantastic in and of itself.
And it's worth clarifying here as well that it's not necessarily that top esports have an early game composition, it's just that comparatively to V5, their composition works better in the early game. And so it's like, even though it's not about necessarily that they have drafted for early game, it's just V5 have drafted for sheer late game.
It's when top esports have the biggest advantages is what we're looking at. It's definitely when you look at that 2-item point where SamD hasn't got quite towards that third Zeal item. Same with Bubu trying to finish off some of his items, but also crucially get towards like the level 11, the level 16 where he accesses his full range of abilities as KO. And when you have top esports who can keep trying to make these plays, there's no reason why they can't find these early game plays, especially towards the likes of Dragons and towards those Rift Heralds.
And speaking of those Dragons as well, the first one of the game will be the Cloud Drake. So a bit of a crucial thing to notice here because, hang on, we got to dive up towards the top side here. Mole's coming in. He's got a gold card available. And the Bellows Breath means that he can't actually find himself a way in. Way happy to tank the tower. Mole barely gets away, walks back into the minions, playing it real dangerous there.
Yeah, and look, you can see Knight's trying to move up now to catch out the rotation of Mole, and might have been able to do it.
Knight is going to flash over the wall. What is that? Damage out of Knight just obliterates him. TP now being channeled by 369, but his ultimate's not going to be available, so can't quite force the issue here.
Massive mistakes from Mole. Not only refusing to just get the hell out of tower range, trying to go back in to provide more damage that wasn't really necessary, but then again giving that kill over towards Knight. It means that that play doesn't quite work out as well as they want because the kill, don't forget, went to the volley bear. It didn't go to Bubu, who they're trying to set up. So Knight would be the benefactor of one kill in return.
And it's important as well that V5 were the ones that committed more players towards that play. So in the meantime, Karsa has just been clearing the jungle on this bottom side of the map. He's moved in towards blue.
You got the Dragon as well, so they're starting to rack up these as top esports. And again, it's about forcing fights at the third, fourth Dragon the top esports are interested in.
So
PP
God! Nearly gets face checked again. Nice stun out of PP God, but he might have baited himself here because SamD jumps forward to capitalize.
And it was Jackie Love wandering into mid lane on his own. Top esports didn't have pressure elsewhere, so V5 can go for plays like that and not have to worry about it.
Love to see the teamwork there from top esports as well. CC chain the wolf so he can't reset. Beautifully done. So let's take a look at the time on the clock right now because we're a minute and a half away from Baron, 4 minutes away from a Dragon. And my question, Dagda, is how do top esports keep the tempo up here without neutral objectives to force? Like, what is the next port of call? Because we already talked about V5 kind of went out on scaling.
Well, it's definitely to try and have Knight be a big threat in these side lanes. He's gone for the Lichbane build now, so he's looking to go full split push, where get off in the side lane against Mole, try and put pressure there, where right now, with how strong Knight is, he can dive Mole. He can dive, honestly, everyone except for Bubu underneath the turret. So you want Knight topside to try and put pressure onto that second tier 2. You can try and crack that one open. And then even if you have a multi-man commitment towards that top side, the mid lane structure is so low,
they found themselves a Red Bull.
They got the flash out of Mole as well, so they're pretty happy with that. But
oh, Jackie Love's been caught by the Tempered Fate, and V5 very quickly realized that they cannot follow up there.
Now you can see Knight postures aggressively, and everyone's like, okay, hold the phone, we don't want this anymore.
This is so tense. There is nothing to fight for right now. But you know what? They're willing to go for it.
Yeah.
Got Dark Seals on either side of the mid lane. Knight now moving to this bottom side of the map to try and get some pressure on the go.
And look, this is the game plan for top that we said. They are going to want Knight in a side lane because he's just so much stronger than everyone else right now, and he has that dive potential. So, and even, look, if he ends up against BuBu, he can even steal away the invulnerability, just match the two invulnerabilities, and still kill BuBu. So, we have to be very careful if we're V5 side, that we're not just falling prey to Knight and trying to create multiple different pressure points elsewhere, so then top esports have to respond with Knight.
We got a hook in the jungle here as PP God trying to get some deep vision. It was spotted out and it'll be cleared as well. As Jackie Love and Knight are in the mid lane here. You can see V5 posturing pretty aggressively around this Baron, just trying to at least maintain vision control.
Well, that's the thing. Knight doesn't have that teleport up just yet, so they want him positioned with the rest of the team for the moment, but eventually will have that back and available. Whereas Mole has that Destiny, and you're looking at BuBu with his own TP available. So V5 are looking to get control of these side lanes and put pressure onto top to deal with them.
Yeah, one of the weird things about these side lane assignments that we need to watch out for. Oh, hang on, the Colonel. He's liking the look of V5 right now in our Kentucky Fried chart. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. But one of the interactions we've got to be looking out for is how these two teams assign their laners to
The case of, okay, who on our side as top esports has teleport up? If it's Knight, cool, you're bottom side. And honestly, you want 369 with the team.
369. We'll walk away from any kind of CC here. Yuyanja dredge line away. Destiny was already used here. And he's just going to teleport towards the bottom lane as BuBu and Mole look to split push and try and find themselves a tier 2. In the meantime, top esports say, hey, anything you can do, we can do better, and run straight to the mid lane.
Well, 369 is going to be on this bottom side. They're looking to make a play with Knight.
They're going to find a knock-up onto BuBu here. Tower didn't go down, importantly. BuBu using his ultimate very early on, and Knight is going to match it to keep him